Okay, it's a later one today, but I wanted to make sure that I kept this consistent and that I did this every single day. So here we are, it's only day 3, and I am coming in to talk to you about how not expressing your feelings F's you up. If you hear panting in the background, it's because Mr. T is hot and ready for this conversation, as am I. For those of you who don't know me, hi, hello, how are you? My name is Johnna. I am an evidence-based life coach, and I am here to teach you all of the shit that no one told you about how to navigate this thing that we call life. And today, like I'd said, we're going to be talking about how whenever you hide your feelings and you suppress like what's actually going on, how that really actually fucks you up in the long run. So let's dive into it. When you are in a situation where you are experiencing something and you're like, well, no, like I'm fine, like it's okay. And like you try to like downplay it. It's not okay because that's going to go somewhere in your body and it's going to stay there. And the way that it is going to eventually manifest can be in disease, it can be in illness, it can be in sickness, it can be in anxiety, it can be in all these different ways that you might not think are necessarily, in any way related. And if you're living right now, like I can pretty much guarantee that there is some shit that you are suppressing. Here's an example. I had spoken in my last video about a situation where I had said that, I wasn't even mad, right? So, okay, someone was a piece of shit to me, and it was something where I continued to try to like reach out and like, hey, like, can we talk about this? Like, I need your support, like what happened kind of thing. And as I was explaining this to one of my friends who is also a coach, she's awesome. If you want her information, let me know. And she asked me, why are you performing for him? Like he's shown that he clearly does not give a fuck about your well-being. And so why do you continue to abandon yourself and perform for him? And I was like, I don't see it as that. Like I see it as me just, trying to create the space, like clear the air and, communicate. And what she offered is that, yeah, I'm lying to myself. I'm abandoning myself in that way, which I spoke about yesterday. And so she's like, you feel that this person is being out of integrity. And so I invite you to look at the other side of that coin where you too are also being out of integrity. And it is by asking them for, a conversation and like being nice and like thanking them for their time and for their response when really I should be mad as fuck. And I was like, but I'm not really mad. I'm not really like a mad person. And she's like, this is what I was saying yesterday in terms of, you don't have to be mad, like yelling, like throwing dishes to acknowledge the sentiment and to acknowledge that feeling is there. And so that is something that I had a moment. And the reason I'm talking about it again, because I know I mentioned it yesterday, is because over, the last 24, 36, however long it's been hours since I spoke to you, I have kind of had like some kind of my higher power moments where I'm like, that would make a lot of sense. I'm like, I'm not an angry person. Like, I'm not really, I just don't care. Like, let them be. And that's great. And at the same time, you can do that and still say, yeah, that made me, that is something like worth being angry about. I did feel upset or I did feel angry about the way that they responded in this situation. Like I can say it, acknowledge it without having to pretend like it's not something, without abandoning myself, right? And so the way that this manifests can be in multiple ways. It can be in, we get into these relationships where we're like, well, I don't know why. But the reason that you're in that relationship is because you've been suppressing like your actual feelings. Huh? Yeah. And this situation I'm talking about is that exact thing. It's something where I'm like, but it was so good, but like I've done so much work, like how is this possible? And it was something where I recognized in the beginning, and I had a conversation with myself where I was like, is this familiar? Am I attracted to them? Or am I attracted to their condition? Because the condition is familiar. And, came to the conclusion that like, no, like it can be both. There can be overlap. And I'm like, yeah. And if it's not, so discerning that I'm like, I get it, but they're different, then it's not really overlap. What feels right is really what just feels familiar. And so by suppressing how I actually felt by not like tuning into like me and getting really clear about, what I felt in that moment, I decided to proceed with this relationship. And 2 months later, blew up in my face. Well, not even really blew up. It just like they ghosted me. And so it was a situation where with that being something that happened, I'm very much in a space where I was like, well, what the fuck? And when I spoke to my friend and had this realization about like suppressing my feelings, I'm like, whenever we suppress our feelings, and yes, like it can manifest in disease and sickness and anxiety and stress and like tense muscles and like not being able to sleep and all the stuff like low immunity, which there's science behind it. It's all true. It also can manifest in you repeating the same patterns that are keeping you stuck. And you continue to go through the motions because you're not allowing what is actually true to come to the surface. If I would have said to myself, you know what, let me like make a list of pros and cons, or not pros and cons, but let me make a list of like similarities and differences and like tune into like what I'm actually feeling, I probably would have recognized, oh, you know what, this is more familiar than it is different. So probably could have avoided this whole situation in the first place. And without the realization that, you know what, a lot of us do say that we don't have anger. A lot of us do suppress anger because it's really gotten this bad rap, like this stigma, because whenever we see someone who's like in a state of rage, it's a scary thing. And it's not something that, they're thinking rationally, and you kind of want to get out of their way, right? Because you're like, well, I don't want to get hurt. And that's one thing, right? Like that's an extreme version. But just to be angry and to state like, yeah, that pissed me off, that is a complete different situation. And your feelings are valid, and it is important that you learn how to identify what they are, how to recognize them first of all, and how to identify. It's important that you allow yourself to feel them. A lot of times we are in a space where we feel that, if I feel this way, then I will be perceived as that, or like, I don't want to be that kind of a person. Guess what, baby doll? You are human. And so that means that you feel all of the things, and it is important that you allow yourself to do so, because that is what is going to lead you to who you are here to be and help you understand, what your part in this experience, to take it to like a existential, like esoteric type of a situation. Whenever you are in a space where you are allowing and surrendering to feeling what your feelings are, you're in a beautiful place, because you're going to be able to understand yourself that much better. So that is what I have to say today. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it was at least a little bit entertaining to get to hear a little behind the scenes of what's been going on in some regard. And your takeaways for today are just to start to really allow yourself to feel whatever it is. And I think I spoke about a brain dump the other day, but that is a safe way to do it when something happens. If you just give yourself free reign to voice note, to brain dump and write out, to get out whatever it is that you're feeling, you can listen back to it, you can read it back, you can watch it back if it's a video, and you can always delete that shit. So you can always delete it, and it is helpful because whenever you see yourself through a different point of view, whether that be visual, auditory, or whenever you see your words on a piece of paper, then it literally gives you a different perspective where you are able to step out of, the being in it and looking at the, oh, but like, this is part of my whole experience. Like this moment is playing into like a bigger part, and this moment is what I need to tune into so that I can better understand that. So that is what I have for you. Let me know if this resonates. Let me know if you've ever been in a situation where you have not, allowed yourself to feel feelings, and why, and what the effects of or that, or what the effects were of that, what the impacts were of not allowing yourself to feel the feels. Or maybe you don't even know. Maybe you're learning. So it's all cool. It is all part of you or your journey. And so, yeah, I hope that this helped you along it in some way. So with that being said, have an awesome day, evening, morning, whatever time it is for you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.